Yeah, the St. Christopher School Rajasthan link has now existed for 20 years. I personally feel quite strongly that one can't learn anything, one can't be effective in any task unless one is prepared to learn from each other and to listen to each other. And this is what we did, and this is what happened more and more. And this is how, after the first few years of the project, the idea of mutual benefit was born. Because if we go to India, there's absolutely no doubt that we benefit. But the important thing we felt was, and the only basis on which a long relationship could be built, is if that benefit was mutual, if there was a clearly perceived benefit for our Indian partners as well. And we worked with a number of organizations, but over the years it crystallized more and more that the organization we worked with most positively, most effectively, and most constructively and creatively was Seva Mandir.
Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat.
One of the important things for us about the village visit was that Evan was saying earlier on about how the Rajasthan Link project is a mutually beneficial project, and I think for the village visit, a lot of learning was done on our part, and I think that's where
the connection becomes a lot stronger. Going to the village, I think the difference is, when we went to the village, we could see the people of the village and where they were staying, and kind of in return they were only seeing us, is kind of the essence of, I think, what Josh was getting to. But I think part of what made the village visit so special was the fact that we came in as part of Seva Mandir, as part of a group that was already comfortable within the village, that already had a relationship with them, meant that we could kind of go straight in for that short period of time and be quite involved and talk really with the local people, you know, have a local meeting with them and be shown around some houses, doing things that we would never have been able to do if we hadn't been with Seva Mandir. You know, there's no way we could go and visit a village without that connection. So I think that's where it became very valuable to us.
Yes, I think that at the sort of village meetings, it was also beneficial for them to see what was life like elsewhere, and those discussions about sort of almost comparing in a way, as sort of
yeah, it was a live comparison. There was a kind of a very simple comparison of kind of, you know, where do you get your food from, and they all grow their own food in their own fields, and we were talking about packaged food from a supermarket, and that concept to them was so foreign.
It's so bizarre for them.
And you know, and it was almost bizarre for us the other way around, even though we were kind of expecting it, to kind of see people actually living like that.
But and also I think it made us see. It is a bit bizarre having your apples in a plastic bag. It does seem a bit sort of ridiculous when you're walking through a village with you know, people just so just so interdependent and sort of this cooperative that works so well.
What I just thought was amazing was that I think a lot of people coming here would look at a place like that and they go, that's really amazing, I'd love to come back and stay for longer and do something a bit more, you know, sort of long term. And I thought that for a bit, and I thought, you know, I'd love to come back for, you know, like a couple of months maybe and help teach and stay there and stuff. And then I thought about it for a while and I realised actually I don't think I've got that much energy and that much like just the level of commitment that the teachers had. I just thought was mind blowing. They're just so like hard working and stuff.
That very ironic. Thanks a lot to all of you, to all the students, to all the teachers, because you may not come back the next time, but what you say and what you leave behind, that somewhere stays in your school's memory.
If we accept someone what they are, as they are, then they accept us as we are. So you all have wonderful that acceptability. So, and it was so fruitful for me to learn about the education system. And as a writer, I got many teenage characters.
And I think what you've showed us this time is a huge range. And so our students will go back and pass on to their friends and people to come a bit more about what Seva Mandir does. And I know we've only seen a fraction, but I really appreciate the care, the attention in detail and the thought that you put in to making our experience in what is 6-7 days so rich and so varied.
And in the beginning, for us also, it was only children who were coming to get some exposure to rural areas in Rajasthan, and that's how we were doing it. But I think gradually over years from both sides, the relationship grew and took on a kind of a purposeful nature around the children's literacy camps. From our side, from both sides, because St. Christopher also knew that when the children would come, they would be working in the literacy camps. So even though the children would come only for a week or 10 days, but the teachers would start working with them for months before that in preparing maths exercises, language learning exercises, other kinds of games which children could then come and work on. And I think because of that continuity from both sides, from St. Christopher's side, there have been a lot of investments made by Edwin, Dennis, Linda, all the people who've been there over the years. And from Seva Mandir's side also, there's been Deepthi, who has been a constant part of the relationship, and now Preeti and Sunita and others who are taking this forward. So one was this factor that on both sides, there were people who stayed with the relationship over many years. And two, I think because it was around one thing, that then it became more than only a rural exposure. They are able to come and actually add value to our literacy camps. So for us at least, the St. Christopher visit has become a permanent part of the literacy camp calendar.
The joy that can be created by working together, by doing things with each other, for each other, by sharing them, maybe is the biggest and most important learning process that any of us can be involved in. And maybe that recognition, and it is a recognition, I mean it may be theory unless one experiences it firsthand, the recognition that it is very, very clear that we share a common humanity, and the things that connect us are far more important than anything that might divide us. That kind of recognition can come from the close cooperation that we've achieved between St. Christopher and Seva Mandir, and I hope that the connection will continue for a very long time and will continue deepening.